siteyogi.org. Canter et al. 2004. The Organized, Disorganized Typology of Serial Murder, Myth or Model. Background. This is the second study we will be looking at from Making a Profile. It's further categorized into bottom-up. For the background of this study, I highly recommend that you listen to the Hazelwood and Douglas 1980 study, which should be on the previous page on the website, siteyogi.org. Aim: to test the reliability of organized and disorganized typologies. Method and design: a content analysis using the psychometric method of multidimensional scaling. Multidimensional scaling is simply a way in which similarities are identified in a dataset. Source material for the content analysis was 100 cases of the third crime by serial killers in America. The reason it was the third crime is because by the third crime we've established A, that these people are serial killers, and B, that they have a common modus operandi. We can look at their previous crimes and say, okay, this is what they've been doing. They have a similar pattern to each of their crimes. We know they have a pattern because it's their third crime. This material was collected from published accounts of serial killers and their crimes that were cross-checked with court reports and, where possible, with investigating officers. That's the direct quote from the actual report. There were also secondary sources consisting of nationally and internationally known United States newspapers, periodicals, journals, true crime magazines, biographies, trial transcripts, and case history narratives. Between the sources for the cases studied, there was very little disagreement, making the sources highly reliable. Procedure: the 100 cases were assessed to find out if the features hypothesized by Hazelwood and Douglas 1980 of the different typologies, organized and disorganized, are consistently and distinctly different. That is, can you find an organized offender, and can you find a disorganized offender, and can you do this consistently? Because you may find that organized offenders have many disorganized elements to their crimes, and disorganized offenders have some organized elements to their crimes. So how can we truly say which is really organized and which is really disorganized? It becomes slightly difficult. So Canter et al. 2004 used a crime classification manual from Douglas et al. 1992 to classify the studied crimes as either organized or disorganized as far as was possible given the information of each individual case. Findings: disorganized offences were slightly more commonly identified than organised offences, based upon the crime scene evidence, which suggests that either disorganised crimes are easier to identify or disorganised crimes are more common. The top 3 most frequently occurring features of organised crimes were victim alive during sex acts. That was 91% of the organised offences. The body had been positioned. That was 75% of it. Now what we mean by body positioned, as in the dead body had been moved into some position that wasn't how it was when it was murdered. Murder weapon missing. That was 67% of the organised crimes. The top 3 most frequently occurring features of disorganised crimes were vaginal rape, that was 74%, overkill, that was 70%. Now what overkill means is instead of just stabbing a person once to kill them, the murderer has stabbed them several hundred times or shot them many times. They have killed them in excess. They've killed them and then carried on trying to kill them. Multiple sex acts was 66%. There were only 2 crime scene co-occurring behaviours in organised cases. The body was concealed in 70% of the cases. The sexual activity occurred in 75% of the cases. Further statistical analysis failed to separate the variables for organised and disorganised offences clearly. Conclusions: Canter concluded that there was no distinction between the 2 types of serial murder. All such crimes will have organised elements to them and some disorganised elements to them. Canter suggests that there is a lack of empirical validity to the typologies. The differences between serial killers may be different in ways in which the ways in which they show the disorganized aspects of their crimes. Canter suggests that it would be better to study the individual personality differences between offenders than the organized and disorganized elements of their crime when creating profiles. Canter et al. 2004 Evaluation. A strength is that the source material used showed both concurrent validity and reliability. Ethnocentrism is a weakness because the results and conclusions cannot be generalized to other crimes easily, as this was the third crime of American serial killers. This what was used to create the actual theory. Shows a weakness in the validity of organized and disorganized typologies. That's a strength. A large sample, therefore the results are highly likely to be reliable. Validity. The crimes were analysed using statistical analysis, which makes them highly valid in the actual analysis of the results. Ecological validity, because the study analysed real crimes. Arguably, ecological validity is also low in terms of the actual creation of this counter argument, because Canter wasn't there to actually analyse the crime scenes himself and thus come to these conclusions. He had to use secondary data to do so. If you've enjoyed this, there's more on psychyogi.org.